Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of In Pit Lane here on Channel 31 Melbourne and of course the In Pit Lane YouTube channel. Well, our special guest this week is a young man who's got a huge opportunity to advance his career. He's been selected as Australia's representative in the Porsche Young Driver Shootout. He's hoping to follow in the footsteps of drivers like Jackson Evans and Matt Campbell, who have all gone on to race in Super Cup and be works for Porsche drivers in things like the World Endurance Championship at Le Mans and also the IMSA North American Sports Car Championship. His name is Cooper Murray. He'll be joining us a little bit later on in the program as well. So once again, not a huge amount has happened locally, but there has been some international news, and we're going to catch up with all of that right now once again as we send you to the In Pit Lane Motorsport News. A heartbreaking loss for Lando Norris in last weekend's Russian Grand Prix in Sochi. Norris started from pole and controlled most of the race, but his gamble to try and tough out the final few laps on slicks cost the young McLaren driver his first Formula One victory. As Norris slid out of contention, guess who was there to pick up the pieces? Yes, unlike Lando, Lewis Hamilton did listen to his team and change tyres in the worsening conditions to go on and win his 100th Grand Prix. A remarkable recovery for Max Verstappen, who started from the rear of the grid due to a changed engine penalty. He came home second to minimise the damage to his championship fight with Hamilton. Carlos Sainz drove a sensible race for third place to keep Ferrari in the fight for the Constructors' Championship points against McLaren, leading home Daniel Ricciardo, who probably should have finished a little higher but for a slow pit stop. With the cars now headed for the Turkish Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time, Hamilton has moved back into the championship lead by a mere 2 points from Verstappen, as this year's title looks like going down to the wire. Melbourne driver Oscar Piastri has strengthened his championship lead after another feature race win in Formula 2. Piastri started from pole and led until stopping on lap 8 for his compulsory tyre change. Second place Théo Pourchaire stayed out for 2 laps longer and emerged from the pits with a slight lead. Piastri quickly moved back past the French driver, however, to take the lead on lap 18, holding on to take the checkered flag ahead of Pourchaire, with Jehan Daruvala 12 seconds back in third. Piastri's main rival for the championship, China's Guanyu Zhou, finished in 6th place. The win means Piastri now leads Zhou by 36 points with only 2 rounds to go. And Jack Doohan made a strong finish to the year with a win in the Formula 3 feature race. Doohan once again showed his pace with pole position and a race win, but the championship had already been wrapped up by Dennis Hauger, courtesy of a second place in Saturday's first race. A championship win to young Spanish driver Alex Palou, who has won the 2021 IndyCar Series. Palou finished 4th in last weekend's Long Beach Grand Prix to wrap up the series after his main rival for the title, Patricio O'Ward, failed to finish after his car was damaged when he was hit from behind by Ed Jones at the end of the first lap. That contact led to a loss of drive on lap 19 after the half shaft of his right rear snapped. The race was won by hometown hero Colton Herta, who dominated to win by half a second ahead of Joseph Newgarden to finish the season with 2 consecutive victories.
It feels amazing, great car, great team. We came here with a great package, and this has been on the bucket list for so long, so super happy.
Scott McLaughlin clinched the Rookie of the Year award after his only rival for the title, Romain Grosjean, was forced to retire late in the race after making contact with the wall. Denny Hamlin has continued his recent run of good form with a win at Las Vegas Motor Speedway to guarantee his spot in the convoluted NASCAR playoffs. Hamlin led for most of the race, going on to take the win from Chase Elliott and Kyle Busch. The race was mostly incident-free, apart from a hard hit for Joey Gase on lap 93 after losing the left rear wheel. Gase walked to the ambulance before being sent to a local medical centre for a checkup. In NHRA, 3-time and defending Top Fuel champion Steve Torrence powered back into the points lead, overcoming a slow start in the final to defeat Mike Salinas. Matt Hagan, the defending funny car world champion, also took the points lead with a 3.93 at 536.7 kilometres per hour in the final to beat Bob Tasker. And Eric Arendez, the reigning Pro Stock world champion, beat rookie Dallas Glenn in a thrilling final round to take her to within 17 points of Greg Anderson, with both drivers seeking their 5th NHRA Pro Stock Championship. Supercars have announced the details of their contractual obligation tour of Sydney, with 4 back-to-back weekends of racing to be held at Sydney Motorsport Park starting on the 29th of October. After a 3-month layoff due to COVID restrictions, Supercars will round out the season at SMP before wrapping up with the Bathurst 1000 on Sunday, the 5th of December. Races at Sydney Motorsport Park will feature a variety of formats and track layouts, including night races. Despite Sydney still being ravaged by the COVID pandemic, Supercars are confident the spectators will be welcomed back to the circuit, although full details have not yet been announced. Supercar CEO Sean Seamer said that the Sydney venue was world-class and, under its new permanent lighting, makes for spectacular viewing for fans at the circuit and watching at home. I would like to personally thank Minister Stuart Ayres, Destination New South Wales, and of course the Australian Racing Drivers Club for everything they've done to make this happen, he said. He failed to thank the people who were really responsible, the taxpayers of New South Wales. And that's the In-Pit Lane news for the final day of September 2021. Yes, folks, we've made it this far. Just. We'll have more news next week. Yes, and if you'd like to join us to talk about some of those news stories and some of the issues that those stories raised, remember to join us for Full Course Yellow directly after the program here on Channel 31 on the In-Pit Lane YouTube channel, as well as the In-Pit Lane Facebook page. More about that a little bit later on in the program, but we're going to take a break right now, and when we return, we're going to be joined by a young Porsche driver heading off to Europe to race in both the French Carrera Cup Championship and also the, more importantly, the Porsche Junior Driver Shootout. His name is Cooper Murray, and he'll be joining us right after this break. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Well, Cooper, thanks for joining us, and first of all, congratulations on the Porsche Shootout. How did you find out about it?
Thank you for having me on. Yeah, very exciting news about Shootout. I got the call from Troy Bundy, the head of Porsche Motorsport Australia, to let me know that I have managed to secure the shootout and I will be nominated by Porsche to go over and represent Australia at the global shootout, which was an amazing phone call. Something that I've been waiting for since COVID started, actually. It was meant to happen last year, obviously got cancelled, so it's a year late, but it's better than never, as they say.
So how many rounds of the local series have you had this year? I mean, there's been so many rounds cancelled. When was the last time you were behind the wheel of the car?
Last time I was racing, or actually behind the wheel at all, was in June. So a long time ago. I'm looking forward to getting back behind the wheel again.
So what's the plan now? I mean, before you actually get behind the wheel for the shootout, you've actually got is it 1 or 2 rounds of the French Championship that you're doing?
So I'll be competing in the last round of the Carrera Cup French Championship at Optima, which is very exciting. So up until then, I'll be on the simulator a lot, preparing for Optima, new track, new car. It's going to be a challenge. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's a great circuit over there. I remember talking to the late Alan Simonson about it. It was one of his favourite circuits. He absolutely loved the place. Said it was a great challenging circuit. Said it was a little bit Bathurst, a little bit Macau. He said it just had a little bit of everything in it. He really enjoyed it over there. So it'll be quite the challenge. Where is the shootout actually held?
We haven't got a confirmed location yet for the shootout, so Porsche wait until a couple of weeks before, about a week and a half before, so then they tell all the competitors. It's so the European teams and drivers don't get an advantage, so they can't go over there and test on the track before the actual shootout, so it's a fair gauge for everyone. No one's got an advantage over everyone else.
The other thing that you're getting, apart from the drive in the French Championship, you're also going to be testing the new car as well. Get behind the wheel of that. Now, from what I've heard of that car, it's actually yet another level above what you're racing at the moment. Tell us about that car and what you're looking forward to there.
Yeah, so I've heard it's about 2 seconds quicker at most tracks, which is a massive step from the current 991.2 Cup car that I've been driving for the last 2 years. I'm just looking forward to the more aero, more grip and more power. It's just sounds like an overall way better race car. More manly, more power, more grip. Every driver wants more grip. So I'm really looking forward to getting behind the wheel and testing my skills behind it.
Of course, the shootout is a very important part of the career if you do well in it. And I mean, the most recent Australian to do well was, of course, Matt Campbell. He's now a Porsche factory driver. We've seen him in the World Endurance Championship at Le Mans, also the North American Sports Car Championship with IMSA. Have you had an opportunity to talk to Matt at all about, got to get any tips from him about what you might be expecting?
So I've been corresponding with Andy McElroy, obviously, who's got Matt and Jackson to this point, and me as well, to the point where I'm preparing for the shootout. So Andy's got a lot of knowledge from when Matt and Jackson did it, when they both won. So Andy knows what Porsche look for in a driver, so what they want in a driver when they choose a driver. Obviously, fast, consistent, and it's everything else as well. So media, physical training, how fit you are, mental prep as well. It all comes into play, and it's just not how fast you are in a car. Obviously it helps, but it's all the other 1%ers as well that make the difference.
And that seems to be the thing, as you say, that companies are looking for nowadays, is that total package. Being quick on the track is one thing, but being able to do the media, to being able to make sure you're consistent and you're reliable. So those things are very important, as you said, with the experience with the team that's behind you here and their success in the past. You must be very confident, even though this is your first opportunity to go over there and do it. You must be fairly confident about your chances there.
Yeah, obviously, I'm confident in myself. I believe I have what it takes to do it. I've got an amazing team behind me that are preparing me the best I can, and giving me amazing opportunities in Europe to test drive the new car. So I'm best prepared as I can going into the shootout. Obviously, with all the other competitors already having a season under the belt in the new car, they know it very well. So I like to get my head around it fairly quickly. I'm sure I will, and I'm very excited. It'll be good.
You mentioned having a look around Portimao with the sim rig and all the rest of it. How important is that now? I mean, what value is it now to be able to go onto a sim rig and be able to race at tracks all around the world? How much of value is it when you go to the real world?
I prepare hours and hours in my sim before every race meeting, new track I go to. I just feel it helps me familiarise myself with the layout of the track, obviously, what lines to take, and it's as soon as I get there in the real thing, I know exactly where I've got to brake, what lines I've got to do, so I'm not wasting 10 laps figuring out the track and the lines. I'm straight onto it and straight down to business.
So is it a regular part now, a vital part of any young racing driver's training regime? Is it as important as sort of getting out and doing all the physical work, making sure that you actually do set a time, some valuable time, some concentration time every week just to get behind the sim and check out where you're going to be racing next? Yeah,
so I spend probably a minimum 7 to 8 hours a week in the sim, as well as my normal physical training, which is 1 to 1.5 hours a day. It's very important, I find, for the sim myself. I get a massive advantage out of it. Some drivers don't, some drivers do. Personal preference, but I feel it helps me a lot.
Well, we're going to find out more about what you'll be doing and what your plans are over the next few weeks in the lead up to the shootout. But right now, we're going to take a break here on In Pit Lane, and when we come back, we'll be joined once again by our special guest this evening, Cooper Murray. He's heading off to Europe to race in the Porsche Shootout, and perhaps, hopefully, getting a chance to follow in the footsteps of drivers like Matthew Campbell and Jackson Evans to race overseas in Europe and North America. You're watching In Pit Lane on Channel 31. We'll be back right after this break. Welcome back to In Pit Lane. Well, our guest tonight is Cooper Murray, who's about to head off to Europe to race in the French Carrera Cup Championship, but also to, more importantly, race in the Porsche Shootout for young drivers and follow in the footsteps, hopefully, of drivers like Matthew Campbell. You mentioned that obviously you haven't had the full complement of races this year. what's the with all the current situation? What's the situation of being able to get to Europe now? I mean, what sort of rigmarole do you have to go through in order to get over there, and more importantly, come back?
Yeah, so getting over there, I've had to apply for a border exemption to leave the country, and they're very strict on that. So I've had to get letters from Porsche Germany, Porsche Australia, to help my case in getting over there to race. And thankfully I got that back and it was approved, so I'm allowed to leave the country. That's all good. So now it's just a struggle of trying to get back into Australia, which at the moment it's a bit touch and go. It's not looking very likely, but hopefully some things change from now till the end of November and I'll be able to get back for Christmas and spend the time with my family.
I suppose in the current situation is as long as you get over there, that's the main thing. So what's the timetable? I mean, between now, when do you actually leave? When do you leave and head over there?
So I fly out on the 13th of October, and then so it's 16 or so days away, and then I get stuck into business with the team and do a test before Porsche Carrera Cup France round, and then obviously race the Carrera Cup France round. And then got a little bit of a break over there, and I got a 2-day test at Paul Ricard actually in mid-November before the shootout, which is very good mileage in the new car.
So what's the long-term plan? I mean, we mentioned that the following in the footsteps of Matty Campbell. I mean, is that the long-term plan? There's so many options for young drivers now in the world of sports car racing. I mean, especially now that we've seen GT3 is now being adopted for the World Endurance Championship and for Le Mans as well as the GT World Challenge, various rounds around the world, including here in Australia. Is that where you're focused at the moment in terms of your future career?
Yeah, so ever since joining GT3 Cup Challenge in 2018, that's always been the goal. Sorry, and I'll always stick to that goal. Becoming the next Matt Campbell would be a dream. Thankfully, I'm very grateful I had the opportunity to go try and make that possible, and give it everything I can to be the next Matt Campbell and race in Porsche Super Cup next year as a Porsche junior driver, and then hopefully move up to a young professional.
What are the plans? I mean, in terms of there is of course no guarantee. I mean, what in terms of the plans for next year? Should you not be successful in winning the ride for next year, do you have all plans to perhaps stay over there or return to Europe and actually and follow that dream there? Or if it doesn't work, would you come back to Australia and race in the local series again?
So that's a bit undecided at the moment. Obviously, there is opportunities to go over there next year, even if I don't win the shootout and go race Porsche Super Cup. It's a heavy budget without Porsche supporting you, which is a big struggle at the moment in the current climate with what's going on. It's very hard to get sponsors, so that's a bit of a struggle. Could have options to come back to Australia. Don't know yet. Just all planning on waiting to see how the shootout goes and then thinking about our options after that.
It'll certainly, if nothing else, the advantage of the shootout is it gives you that yardstick to know exactly where you do fit in terms of that international ladder, because you're up against the best in the world, and if you're anywhere within the first half of the field, particularly if you get a podium, or particularly if you win the thing, I mean, it's obviously a great testimony to your success. What about locally? I mean, at the moment you mentioned last week, we were going to do this interview last week, and you said you couldn't because you were working. So you're not full time as a racing driver at the moment. What's your work at the moment?
So I help out the family business, which is stonemasons. So I'm there working full time while there's no racing. Keep me busy, keep the money coming through to help pay for racing, which is obviously a massive part of me being able to go out and do what I love. I'm very grateful to my family as well for all the hard work they put in to make me do what I love and help me try and make a career out of it.
As we said, we've seen a number of rounds of the local series have been cancelled this year. What's the situation with that series? I mean, have they announced any with the 4 rounds of the Supercar Series still to run, is the local Carrera Cup Series coming back for those rounds? And if so, will you be able to do any of those races?
No, Porsche hasn't confirmed anything yet about the rest of their calendar. I'm not sure how that looks. And unfortunately, with me going over to Europe, I won't be able to compete in the rest of the Carrera Cup Australia Championship, which is a bit of a shame. Sitting in second position, only 70 points behind Cameron Hill. But obviously, going over and competing in the Super Cup is what we've aimed for the last 2 years. And I've got the opportunity now. I'm not going to give that up.
Yes, well, certainly when you look at the big picture, that's probably as prestigious as the local series is. The opportunity to race at the shootout and further on into the Super Cup is one that you certainly can't push aside. Look, good luck for that for later on in this year. We'll obviously keep our viewers in touch with what you're doing over there, both with your race at Portimao and then also, of course, in the shootout as well. Good luck with that. Good luck for the future, and hopefully in the next couple of years we'll see you. We might catch up with you at Le Mans. But for now, Cooper Murray, thanks for joining us in Pit Lane.
Thank you for having me on. I enjoyed it.
The show may be over, but the motorsport chat continues with Full Course Yellow, the In Pit Lane after party. We're on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel live most Thursday nights at 9:30. Straight after In Pit Lane here on Channel 31. So, why not join us? Yes, I hope you'll join us once again straight after the program on Full Course Yellow. It's just a chat and opportunity to come on in, and you can contribute. You can leave your comments. You can talk to us live on the program as well. You can ask your questions. We'd really love you to come along. If you're a motorsport fan and you want to talk about any of the issues in local or international motorsport that were raised in the news a little bit earlier, or perhaps talk about some of the opportunities for young sports car racers like Cooper Murray, then join us on Full Course Yellow directly after the program here on Channel 31 on In Pit Lane. Thursday nights at about 9:30 every Thursday night we are live, and we'd love to have you along. But that's all we've got time for this week on In Pit Lane. Once again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week, same time, right here on In Pit Lane on Channel 31 and the In Pit Lane YouTube channel. Until then, from all of us here, thanks for joining us, and bye for now.